So the rest of this time is marketing and then also action plans from here. And we want you to really do things that are easy, really do things that are easy and that are more natural for you. And so Natalie and I each have a different style. You probably have figured that out by now. And so you want to go with what your strengths are when it comes to marketing and networking. So do you want to start with some of the things that you've done, and maybe we can touch on blogging and how that's been, how we've used that? Okay.
So I'm really an introvert, and so my strength is not, walking in a doctor's office. I still have not done that. I'm scared to do that. That's something I'd like to work on, but that's really why I hit the internet so hard, because it's a way to connect that wasn't as vulnerable feeling for me. So I guess I'll start. I'll do a little bit about ways I've done that. So the first big way is blogging, and so if you are gonna have a blog, it's to stand out. You want to provide useful, valuable stuff. So it's kind of like a sample. You're not, of course, doing therapy, but it gives us kind of a sample of your style and how you work and how you think about things. You can attract more people to your site just by means of making Google happier, and building trust and connection. Yeah, I'm sure that real tech people would not really like the way I talk about Google, like as a person. So I'm gonna first talk about so to make this stuff easy, so I'm sure it sounds like I have to have a blog and a Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest. You don't have to have all of those, but if you do, the easiest way to do it is to repurpose stuff. So use some content that you already have or stuff that you talk about in sessions over and over again. Make a blog post, then make a video if you want to, and then you post it to all the other things. So it's just really one thing, and you just spread it to all the things and send it to your newsletter. So that's the easiest way to do that. I have also a list of different blog ideas. Existing content is my first one. Trends in your practice, so things that you find yourself explaining over and over again.
So it occurs to me, I used to deal, when I worked in the university setting, I used to title workshops borrowed from chapters in books that I really liked. And then take the content from that chapter or from that book and turn it into a talk, as well as a handout. So do you see how that could really, that could go right into, if there's a handout that you use a lot, or if there's some information that you go to a lot, then write it up, or tweak it to put it in a blog, or to talk to somebody about it and video record that. Make it really simple and easy.
Yeah, so you can use what other people say, like chapters of books or quotes from other experts, or take a video from an expert and give your commentary on it as if you were talking to one of your clients or to your ideal client. So what would you want them to know? So it's always providing something that would be valuable. Instructional, so something like, I did 3 ways to get back to sleep when you wake up, because one of my clients was having a problem with that. And then I give it as handouts. And informational, similar.
So if you literally just have a blog, like you guys showed us to start on Google, your Gmail, I mean, if you're posting to that, let's say once a day, 1 sentence with a picture. I mean, like for me, if I focus on something different, I don't think, because for me, I write for a living. I'm like, this sounds like the last thing I want to do. I do not want to have a blog.
I mean, you don't have to have a blog if that's not what you want to focus in on.
Right, but if I want, so I used to work in IT, and I get the whole search engine optimization stuff. I totally get it. But if I want to increase my traffic to my actual Psychology Today or website, I should have a blog and I should be posting to it once a day, one sentence, a quote.
You could do that. When I hear that, I'm like, I think I don't have time to do something like that. And I say that, and so I would say once a week or once a month. I mean, make it easy.
Yeah.
And with that said, there have been times that for a personal challenge, so I don't make it public, for a personal challenge, I'll write every day for 90 days. But that's my taking care of my stuff. And I got into trouble making some of that public last year. So just make sure that it's not made public. You actually publish, then you have to hit publish in order for it to be made public, but you can always sort of take it back as well.
And I've heard guidelines of making them about 600 words, so I think it would be more valuable to do fewer but longer.
Got it.
And
Okay.
I don't know anyone who does it every day.
Yeah.
I think once a week is actually a pretty big goal. And that was my goal. I wanted to wait until after this, and then I'm going to try for that again. But even once a month is an accomplishment. Anything regular, but when you see a blog where they haven't posted in like 6 months, and it's like, well, I don't really want to look at that.
I think I said every day because what I'm getting at, so you take someone who posts a blog, one sentence every day, and then you take another person who posts their blog once a year. Who's going to get more traffic to their other sites?
Whoever, but people have to read the blog in order to get the traffic. So just having it out there isn't going to necessarily make it bump up. So then you have to make sure that you're doing the marketing for people to read the blog. So even if it's
not
just
about the post,
it's not just about the number of
people
posts.
who click on the post.
Right.
So if this person has one blog
Well-
post and they're getting clicked on every day just because there's interest, that's essentially generating more traffic. Then the person might be posting every day, nobody's looking at it. I don't know how that works. So that's kind of
It's about the clicks, but also about the
Content.
language and content.
Content.
So Google is going to index a post really fast with good content.
yeah.
So is a one sentence good content? That's the question asked.
That would be great for Facebook. Every day for Facebook would be that's a much bigger goal than I'm going to do, but a short sentence to Facebook is a really great social engagement.
Yeah.
But I don't know the answer to the once a year long or every day.
Yeah.
It's like neither of them is.
Well, those are extremes. They're
extremes.
opposite ends of the spectrum. There's a lot in between.
Yeah.
Right.
I know that for me, I would think, you don't have enough to do that you're blogging every day, and then the other extreme is, what are you doing that you're only blogging once a year?
Why bother?
Why bother?
Yeah.
I do. So for my case, that the toolkit for transformation, that's a blog. Okay, so all I have to do, and so I'm adding to what's already in the deck, based on if I have this great interaction with a client or something comes up, then I turn it into a blog and a blog post. So that's pretty irregular. My goal is to move toward once a week. It's been about once a month, about.
Oh, and okay, so if you're trying to drive traffic to WordPress, make your blog on your WordPress. I don't know that the Google blog is going to impact the WordPress too much. Okay. And so these are just other ideas for blog posts. We got the list in there, but all kinds of things, interviews or just review a book, all kinds of ideas. Okay, so this is kind of what we were talking about. Regular, catchy titles, use keywords and variations of the keywords. Oops, there's a typo. And with a bio. So this is more about the text that's in there. It's gonna say basically your elevator speech. I'm whoever and I do this in this city, this practice. So that's all connected on there. Connected to your with a call to action, but I think it looks too salesy to end all of them with a call to action. So I gave a guideline of maybe like 1/3 of them. So every 1/3 is something like, if you're struggling with anxiety, call today for your consultation. But some of them just for the intention of just giving something useful. Okay. Other questions about blogging before I do newsletter? So why you need a newsletter? The biggie is it's called 80-20 rule. So this is in all sales. Only 20% of people purchase on the first exposure. So that's with anything, with buying a car or whatever. But that other 80% of potential clients, they're gonna pick up the phone after 12 to 15 exposures to you. So you want to stay fresh on their mind. And it gives continued contact with them to start building the trust, so when they're ready to pick up the phone, they think, well, I remember so-and-so is the anxiety specialist, and so I'm gonna call her. These are some things on how to do it. So I like MailPoet with WordPress because it's free and it's really easy. It takes me like 5 minutes to send out a newsletter. MailChimp is also free and easy.
I use Constant Contact because I started out, it starts out free up until a certain number of people that you have on your list. I actually have close to 900 people on my list, and that's because of all the presentations that I do. So I make sure to send a sign-up sheet around at my presentations. I had to remember that, a sign-up sheet that says, I have a newsletter, and I'll send emails about different things that I'm doing. I just need your permission, and people will write emails, give me their email address. So that's how I have it's about 900 now. And I've now subdivided them. So I first had one kind of list of what did I call it? Gather and grow, because that was the first thing that I was doing, which was getting people together who do complementary, alternative kinds of therapies. But I also now have subdivided them down to how I got their names. So I have BB Psych February presentation, February 2015 presentation, and everyone that was on that list goes in that specific list. So I've got them subdivided now because I want to make sure that I've got one that's for An Artful Spirit, the folks who do the creative things, and some people don't want to get that lit, so it just makes it easy to say, okay, I can click on which list I want to have this information or newsletter go out to.
Yeah, so I have mine right now. I have a general and an eating disorder specific, but I'd like to divide it more. So remember the website I showed you that had the Modern Mindful, and she had her free reports underneath each of her specialties? So each one of those is going to put them on a different list. So the relationship people are going to get that newsletter, and anxiety gets that one. So you're not bugging people, you're sending them the useful stuff about what they said they were interested in. So using the giveaway, because people don't really respond as much to just sign up for my email list, because there's so many of those now. Some people do, but easier to get people with a giveaway. And that's where I'm getting most of mine, is through that on my website, and then I guess the rest of them on my informed consent, I'm collecting them that way. But my list is nowhere near that big. I think I have like 50 right now. I just started.
Well, it's 9 months into it, and I do a lot of presentations, and it's only been in the last few years that I've remembered every time I do a presentation to send it around that list. And even though I've been doing that last week when I did this presentation, there were close to 200 people who had pre-registered for the presentation I did last week, and pretty much most of them came, which was a little bit of a, because I haven't done presentations with that many people, and at the same, so I almost forgot to send that list around. I almost forgot. So I've got to do these prompts, like I have to lay things out in front of me in order to remember to get to them, but that's one thing.
But you know what's interesting? At South, I do faculty group supervision for interns. I only have 6 people in my group. And we were talking about self-care Wednesday. And they said, well, Dr. Preston, what are you doing for self-care? And I said, actually, sounds like work, but I'm going to this workshop this weekend. And, you know, I consider that self-care because I'm really interested in it. It's something that I really want to do. And so I said, you know, the person that used to do my supervision is doing it. And I said your name. 2 of the people in there said, we know her. We just went to, and they went to your Virginia Beach psych thing. And then they said, you know what? She sends out a newsletter. And started talking about the newsletter. There was only 6 people in the room.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you for that. Thank you, because I really just started a newsletter. I have for years wanted to have a monthly newsletter, and I finally got my stuff together and said, okay, this is it. And so we're into February. I've sent out 2 newsletters this year, so I'm good. I'm doing well with it. And I had to figure out what my focus was. And my focus is I love complementary, alternative and integrative therapies. So I'm collecting articles or different pieces of information related to that, the non-talk therapy stuff. And there's lots out there. So I'm giving information about presentations that I'm doing, because again, this is also marketing, as well as a piece that I think is going to be helpful for people. So the last one is I got some information about if you smile, your body remembers the smile and remembers how it feels. So practicing just smiling is a reminder for your body. And that was a follow-up to that presentation. And I'm starting to do, the very end of it is a toolkit card. So a toolkit for transformation strategy is how it ends. So now I have this, okay, now I know what I'm doing. I couldn't figure out what the structure was going to be, and now I know. So thank you.
This is off topic completely. When you said toolkit, it just made me think of it. Have you guys seen the app? It's free, called Virtual Hope Box.
No.
It has a part of it where people can make all kinds of coping cards on their phone that comes up. So you can label them. You can label them different things, like whatever you're giving people for the toolkits. You can show them how to have those in their smartphone.
Okay, what's that called again?
Virtual Hope Box.
Wow.
And it has inspirational quotes that people can flip through, and then it has guided imagery and meditation stuff that they can click on.
Wow.
They can have all their different kinds of coping cards for all different things.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
It's one I just learned about.
I wanted to have an app for the toolkit cards because I think it's there, and it's just costly right now to
You
still.
could look at this
less.
one, see what it's missing, and then make one.
Okay.
How do you oppose right
About how to make apps for free somewhere, but
Yes.
I have to find it because it's like not on my radar right now.
Yeah. So I'm like, where do I want to spend my time and energy? I'd want somebody to develop an app based on what, and I would pay for that. It's just like, what's my cost breakdown?
That's part of what I'm learning too about this whole going into business thing is the pieces that you don't want to do or you're scared to do or just seem like too hard to do, you can find people to do them for you if you're willing to pay for it. You know?
If you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And then there are also, so if you want to have a logo done, there's different ways that you can pay $50 to have a logo done. That's not bad.
You could pay $5 if you want to do it on Fiverr. They may
See,
not
there we go.
be as reliable, but it's called Fiverr, and I think it's spelled with 2 R's. And you can have someone on there make you a logo.
So there are graphic designers out there who just want to get their names out there, and they will design something for you. You just have to give them a spec, essentially what it is that you want to go for.
I had my little book on my free report, $5 on Fiverr. I just said, make it say this and make it blue and green or whatever.
LIVERR.
I think, yeah. And they have examples of like, you know, like 3D book covers and like, make it look kind of like that one, so I wasn't very particular on that. I don't know, I mean, you have to have a logo, like a copyright on it, that might be something different.
Yeah, so you get into copywriting and trademarking and things like that. And that, it's, the difference is if you put that C on any kind of written work, and artwork especially, that makes it yours. Trademarking is something completely different. It is something that you have to pay for. But in terms of the written word, that C with the circle around it, it really designates it as your work. And that's not hard to do. To put the C on anything, you put a parentheses, put a C in another parentheses, you hit the space bar, and it automatically puts it in that circle. It's kind of cool. If you got a map, you hit the alt key and C or R for the registered trademark, automatically does it. And then I figured out how the iPhone has an icon already in it for the circle with the R, so it makes it cool, easy. Okay.
I thought of another marketing thing that I want to share or learn from my mistake. So, you know when they showed the Google results and they said the ones at the top are paid ads and also the ones at the very bottom, and they actually have to say there's a little yellow ad. So I don't know about you guys, but when I am looking at results, I'm looking actually in that, like the triangle that he showed. I'm completely disregarding those ads. So knowing that, I don't really know how I got sucked into this, but I paid a lot of money to set up a Google AdWords campaign because I was convinced that it was gonna get me on the first page of Google, and it does get you on the first page of Google on the first day if someone does it right. And it did get clicks to my website, which is really all they said it was going to do, but it did not convert to enough clients to justify how much I paid for it, so I really don't think it's worth it. I just personally don't think Google ads are effective anymore. I've heard other people say the same.
Not for what not for what we do. Maybe for if you're shopping but I don't think for what we do.
You guys felt like all the ads were not profitable?
Years ago, I did a radio ad. I never did anything on TV, but I did radio. And there's some things that are really expensive. Now, overall it might have helped, but just in terms of familiarity with my name. But I think there are other things that you can do that are free, that will get your name out there.
You could get on TV for free. You can get interviewed on the news for free.
I did. That also happened for me. I was on TV twice in 2001 post 9/11. I don't know how that happened, but somebody called me and I said yes. So somebody calls you to be interviewed for radio or TV or newspaper, say yes. And then there's also a website that you can be listed as an expert, and I don't remember what the name of that is.
It's HARO, it's HARO, is that what you're thinking of?
Maybe so.
And it's help a reporter out, and they send
That's
an
it.
email every day saying, I need an expert on whatever it is, and you can respond to those. I was featured in one, not featured, I was quoted in one, but I didn't like how it came out. So it was an article about, do we need to eat 3 meals a day, or should we just eat 1 meal a day? And I was like, we need to eat 3 meals a day.
Or
I'm a
more.
disorder expert.
Right,
We need to eat
yeah.
3 to 5 meals a day. And I talked all about why, and I mean, they quoted me accurately, but the tone of the article was basically everyone else thought that it was okay to eat 1 meal a day. So I'm not gonna put that on my website, but if it was good, I would have put it on my website.
And so you can also guest blog. I think that's one of the things that are on here. You can ask for people to guest blog, but you can also be a guest blog. So I actually wrote a blog for my alumni association a few years ago. And And so that went out. Just, I mean, that was free. I don't know who read it, but I had fun writing it. It made a difference for me. And I think periodically, the Counseling Today, the online newsletter will send out, you know, and you might have that with social work and your association, and you might have that with psychology, your association. If they might ask for a guest blog for something, do it. If it feels comfortable for you, then do it. You got nothing to lose.
I asked if I could write something for Tidewater Women about the eating disorder walk I was involved in, and I just put a little blurb at the end, a little bio at the end of what I do on my website, and I got a referral from it.
Nice.
And that said, I think there's a piece in here that I wrote for Tidewater Women several years ago about spiritual entrepreneurship. It's somewhere in the, I don't know where it is. Oh, it's in the appendix of the numbered pages, I think. So as long as you're not somebody who is advertising, you're not saying, come to my practice, and you're doing something that's informational, that's on page 74, then they love it. They look for people who are gonna write for them. And they'll give you a number of, you know, words how many words they want you to use, that sort of thing. So this was coming around the same time that we were working on the spiritual entrepreneurship course, but I didn't sell the course. So you have to be really clear that you're not selling something, but you're providing information.
How you can help their readers, them and their readers.
Right.
So did you approach them and said, I want to provide information on this? Is that kind of how it went? Okay.
I had done some ads with them, and by the way, Tidewater Women was a place that I was able to get clients
I was
from.
gonna ask you about print ads, and I was gonna ask you about them specifically. So you found that to be
They were helpful, yeah.
okay.
And you can take out ads that are like little tiny ones to bigger ones, and then they have specials. They'll have a wellness special period. So they'll have months that they're highlighting different kinds
Right.
of topics. So
Right.
whatever you write, you would need to write to whatever topic that they're highlighting for the month.
Okay.
So,
So what do you write at the bottom of that? Like you write something about like Susan Thompson is a LPC in business, that whatever.
Yep.
You put your contact info?
I don't remember what they have on there.
Probably just a basic bio, right? Like
Just a really basic one sentence, yeah.
bio.
And like your website, right?
How
That's what
much-
you usually see in people's bios, it'll have their website also.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing these days, but this was written in 2008. I'm pretty sure that they weren't doing website links or anything like that then, but and often they don't have you don't do a phone number or something like that and that kind of thing.
But even just getting your name out
Even just getting your name out there, right? And if you like writing, if you're more of an introvert and you like writing, then go with what your strengths are. So let's do a little bit of shift on pages 64 through 66. There is a list of 99. I guess it's 67. 99 different strategies. So here's what I'd like to do to break this up. I don't want you to read all of them, but I'd like for you to, we're gonna do this. Will you take the first 20?
Sure.
Suzanne would take the next 20, so it's from 21 to 40. And Rowena, will you take the next 20, so from 40 to 60. And Rachel, will you take the next 20, right? And so on. So I think, Sandy, you've got the last 19, okay? And then we'll just talk about some highlights.
So what do you want?
Just take a look at those, read them, and say, oh, I could do that. Or, you know, which
I got
which
you.
ones stand out for you,
Okay.
okay?
What's the difference between a monthly newsletter and a monthly practice letter? The practice just is what you're doing at your practice?
Good question. So, I think a monthly newsletter, would be something that's it is more specific to a particular topic. And then I think the practice letter would be, you know, here's what our practice is doing. Kind of like what you were talking about with those workshops.
Okay.
Okay, that made it easier, didn't it? Now, so we're gonna go backwards, forwards, kind of, you mind starting? So
No,
what
not
were
at
some
all.
of the highlights that you looked at, you saw?
Give your service away for free to strategic clients who can fill your practice. That jumped out because I just did that. I'm working with a new massage therapist. She's new to me, we hit it off, and so I'm doing it. Join 3 clubs or organizations where your ideal clients would likely be members. I'm thinking of like meetup groups.
Mm-hmm.
Open an office that inspires you to do your best work. I'm working on that, and I just like the way that's articulated. That's nice and clear. Offer to help 3 people in trouble who would not ordinarily afford your fee. And then I have set your practice standards high and honor them, since one of my core values is integrity. That's in alignment with that.
Great. How about you, Suzanne?
That's interesting, it says send a birthday and holiday cards to your clients.
Yep.
I think those like little touches go a long way.
Absolutely. I have somebody that actually was one of my former doc students who said that she has clients come back because of that. So they might not have been back for a few years, but sending a birthday card, they'll come back or they'll refer people as a result of that. Yeah. So.
Do you think there are ethical problems with that? Because I've heard people say that they send Christmas cards to clients or former clients, and other people said that they didn't.
Is it ethical?
Gray area?
I think it might be a gray area. I personally, I don't send Christmas cards because,
Or holiday.
yeah, so you might do or you might do, to me it's like, maybe it's a New Year's letter. So maybe you send a New Year's letter out or something like that. So that to me is similar. But maybe the personal touch is the birthday. It really is. So, I don't know what to say. All right.
Write a thank you card, give a thank you gift for each referral. I don't know that we could give gifts, but the thank you card, I think that's nice. Like, if you've ever put a kid or client in Virginia Beach psych, they send you a really nice thank you card. But I mean,
And they'll hand deliver their chart when they're out.
but I mean, you kind of say like, oh, okay, they actually noticed that I send them business, like they appreciate it. So there's something about that. And then it says, be interested more than interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
And that's kind of what we do naturally by listening to other people. So it's really about activating that.
And then handle everything fully, so that just reminds me, like, kind of like, just don't drop the ball on things or say you're gonna do a bunch of stuff and then follow through.
Thank you. Rona, what you got?
Okay. I have, be coached. That's what I always hear. And, take the initiative, don't wait. I thought about here also. You sent me the email. You said, Ramona, I can give you 10 minutes so you can come to this. And I was like, oh, I thought about it. I said, I can't wait. And then I said, when is it going to happen again? And I said, take the initiative, don't wait. And, have something to look forward to each evening. I like that.
Great. Thank you.
Alright, let's see. This one says, offer help when you can do so without such help costing you. And I feel like I've started to do that more, and it feels good, so I like having that in my life. Some other ones. Use a written agreement in all cases. So we went over some forms and things, so I feel like, I have some of those, but I feel better prepared to use them or modify them for whatever I'll do. Budget 5% for advertising, gifts, and referral resource management. I haven't budgeted for those specific things. So
5% can mean money or time.
Time's
So
money.
if right now you say, well, I don't have the money for that, you have time,
Yeah.
right?
So when you don't have enough clients, that's the perfect time to spend time on this.
Yeah. And that's like, for me, with my consultant work, I'll do a project for 3 months, and then I'll have time for something else. And that's the time I'm gonna spend on this stuff. So, budgeting my time.
People have said never stop marketing, 'cause even if, even when you're full, you need that, it's like the machine of like your efforts going. It's, there's gonna be a dip.
Thank you. Anything else? Weird, Sandy, let's do that.
Have a self-introduction that engages people. I like the one that's saying write at least one acknowledgement note per day. I've been thinking it'd be good to keep like a journal through this process of just sort of what works and what I did and what didn't work, and look at what others who are successful in the field are doing, find out what they've done that's working and follow well. And then have a striking business card and give more than one to the people that you meet.
So Natalie and I went through, Natalie took the first 50 and I took the second 50 about things that we've done that we found really helpful. So do you wanna start?
Yes, some of them I jotted down that were on the list.
Oh, good.
Okay, so this is a variation of some that's on here, but when I first started, I had a lot of time. I asked some people to lunch, people in private practice, just to talk about their experience. And I had mostly people that I knew, like people I used to work with who left and went into practice. But I've heard a lot of people say that they'll just pick people who are somehow, related to their specialty or really different, and you want a back and forth kind of referral relationship. But just to talk and get to know them and find out more about what they do. So I take it that way, finding out more about what they do. Presenting, so I sent emails to college counseling centers about what I did and offered to do a free presentation. So I just did one at ODU, and I'm about to do one at Catholic Charities. So I don't know that they result in direct client referrals, but it gets me known as the eating disorder lady. I send holiday cards to people who sent referrals to me or just friends in private practice. At the bottom of my follow-up letter for primary care doctors, I put a little blurb about what I specialize in and that I have openings and what insurances I take.
That's great.
They have to keep it because it goes in the client chart. And I think they appreciate that you follow up. Not everyone does that, and I'll put presenting issue and plan of treatment or something that might be useful for them. I connected with a doctor, but he actually reached out to me, but I've continued the connection with him at Portsmouth Naval, and he does eating disorders, and he's sending me people. So that's been a great resource because he's very knowledgeable, so he's a big help. And then one that seems counterintuitive was raise your fees. So when I first started, I cut my fees way low, thinking that would get people in, but it made it look like cheap services, like I didn't know what I was doing. And probably showed my lack of confidence at that point. And so I had someone who inspired me because she was a resident too and was new in practice and had her fees like much higher than mine, and she was full, did a waiting list. So I raised my fee and it worked. You're perceived as being more valuable or valuing yourself too. So it worked. That's what I got.
And the first thing that's on mine is also, it's kind of on here somewhere, but it's about collaborate. Really collaborate. That's my theme this year, is to, I've got lots of different collaborations going, and that energizes me, and that takes me out of doing my solo practice, essentially. Number 84 is about meeting with your personal group of advisors weekly. So, several years ago, actually in probably 2005, I got trained by Parachute Incorporated. So Parachute Incorporated is the Richard Bowles, What Color's Your Parachute? there was a training, and I got to be a jump master. And I met one of the trainers, and we just hit it off. And since 2005, so what year is this? 2015. Since 2005, just about every week, we have a phone time to set aside for mutual support. And periodically, I've also been a part of a mastermind group. So people from disparate kinds of jobs getting together and offering mutual support on the phone. So not face to face, because these are people I've talked to people in California, in Canada, in Nebraska, people I've never met face to face, because somebody said, "Oh, would you like to join this group?" And for months we would get together once a week or once a month to say, "Hey, how are you doing?" and hold each other accountable. That has made a big difference for me. I've learned so much from different people. I'm gonna piggyback on what Sandy said and what I'm really wanting. What I did to start out with is I kept a journal. I kept a log. I called it a log because I didn't want a journal. And it's that. What's one thing that I did today? And the other ideas. So I had one of those, just a notebook that I was able to throw in my purse because ideas would come to me and I'd write them down and there would be something that I could refer back to. That made a big difference. And we've kind of referred to it already, is look at other people who are successful already. Interview them, talk to them, take them out to lunch, read what they're doing so that you can be successful too. Do what works. So those are the major ones, I think, that
You know what you said about keeping a log?
yeah.
I think, especially when you're in a position where you feel like you have so much ahead of you, if you can stop and look and say, "Oh yeah, but look at what I've already done."
Right.
I've had to do that because I'm like, I'm constantly grappling with overwhelm, and then I thought, you know what? I've got a website, I've got this, I've got that, and it's like, okay, just to give myself some perspective. So I can see with a log would be nice, concrete, tangible evidence of I am making progress, I am moving forward, I'm getting stuff done.
And I will say, the last thing is about those follow-up thank you notes. I think thank you notes are really helpful. In my informed consent and the information that I gather from clients, if you take a look, there's a block that says who referred you, and there's another block that says, may I send them a thank you note? And there's a signature line and date. So do you hear that then, for those of us who are counselors and therapists, that gives me permission to send a thank you note. Thanks so much for sending John Doe. I really appreciate it. I'm not going in anything else, but I really appreciate that. So it's easy. Okay. Anything else? No. This is a time for us to shift because we're already kind of moving in this direction. You picked out some marketing strategies that really resonated for you in that 20. And what we want to do is have you start really developing an action plan. I want you to think about just 3 things that you can do in the next 3 days. Because, yes, 3 things in the next 3 days, because now you have momentum, right? You've got this energy, there's this excitement. 3 things that you can do in the next 3 days. So it could be all 3 things in one day. Keep it really simple. So you're not going to create a website in the next 3 days. That's like 15 things.